That's crazy. Is it anyway blasted? That image is cut off on the right. I wanted to. We need that. Just get a little bit. All right. Oh, we'll get a better sense of it anyway. The people as consumer are new royalty. The Bellagio's coat of arms makes this point explicitly. The Bellagio one is in the centre. The Bellagio insignia collapses the shield design of the municipal coat of arms of the Comune del Bellagio, the symbol of community and the people from northern Italy, with that of the Barberini family, which you see on the left there, and in particular the Barberini as represented by Pope Urban VIII, which is on the facade of the Palazzo Barberini in Rome, which was designed by Bernini. In a sense, history has travelled a full loop journey back in time. With the rise of mass culture, the modern museum and gallery appropriated aristocratic tropes, symbols and architectural styles to create reformulated palaces as museums for the people, often transforming royal residences like the Louvre into public spaces that collected artworks that had previously been the domain of upper classes. Las Vegas, on the other hand, collects iconic cities that return to a time past. Corporations facilitate the construction of new palaces that address the people, not as part of the faceless mass, but as one of many unique individuals who fashion their own tastes and experiences according to the vast array of choices that Vegas lays out for them. In 1655, Queen Christina of Sweden, who'd recently converted to Roman Catholicism, visited Rome. To celebrate her arrival, the Porta del Popolo, which was constructed by Bernini, was constructed as her official entranceway into the city, and you see it at the bottom there. And in the one on the right, you actually see it sort of running an angle down near the bottom of the image. Thanks, Tom. Yeah, there it is. Deliberately modelled and theatrical backdrops made famous by Palladio. On entering the Piazza del Popolo via the Porta, Queen Christina was transformed into a performer in a theatrical production. This ties back to points that John was making earlier today. Furthermore, the city itself became the context of that performance. Urban life in Rome was theatre. And if you look at the twin churches further up, looking through the archway of the Porta is actually like looking through a Palladio set design, especially as they became famous in the 17th century. Many of the grand entrances, corridors and sculptural arrangements that greet the visitor in Las Vegas deliberately mimic these royal arrivals. And the same goes for the theatrical spectacles, which are very similar to a lot of the sort of pomp and display and theatre that you had in places like Rome and France and Germany during the historical Baroque. In the process, acknowledging themselves as part of a grand theatrical performance that services the demands of individual consumers. How are we doing for time? Nearly finished. When individuals buy an experience, they in a sense buy a staged event that promises to engage them in a personal way. For polyhistors and collectors like Samuel Kichelberg, Federico Cesi and Athanasius Kircher, and here you see Kircher's famous 17th century Wunderkammer in Rome, the Wunderkammer performed an important function as Theatrum Mundi, or theatre of the world, in which the collector could display discoveries, natural and artificial, from newly discovered worlds alongside those of European creation. As such, the Wunderkammer became a theatre that performed the world in miniature form, according to the tastes of the collector. In his writings about the organisation of collections, which is really influential in the 17th century, he wrote in 1565, Samuel Kichelberg argued that Wunderkammer should be made in the form of the marvels of the world. Kichelberg drew on Giulio Camilo's Theatrum Mundi, his book, a study that was influenced by classical writings of Plato and Horace, and this ties back to points that Monica was making yesterday, in an attempt to physically reconstruct the workings of memory for oratory purposes. What Camillo famously constructed, and he actually constructed this, was a theatre that used visual imagery as aids to memory recall, and people visited this place in the 16th century. And Francis Yates more recently reconstructed the structure, and actually literally is a little theatre. As Westerhoff explains, Kichelberg's reference to this theatre of memory as museum has consequences for the pansemiotic conception of collections as a whole, in that both the collection and the theatre of memory were supposed to mirror the innermost structure of the world. The Wunderkammer as theatre of the world underwent another pansemiotic shift during the 17th century, when the world itself was conceived as theatre, one collected and put on display by the ultimate great creator, upstairs. This idea was famously played out, of course, in Calderon's Grand Theatre of the World of 1635. The boundaries between theatre and life collapsed, and the world itself was understood as an enormous Wunderkammer that housed, theatrical Wunderkammer, that housed the ultimate creator's favourite objects. One of the most significant collections that we make as visitors to Las Vegas, turning back to the contemporary context, is to collect experiences for our own theatres of memory. So in Vegas, we're not just consumers who collect retail products. We also fill our own memory palaces with experiences we choose to generate as we navigate these immense spaces before us. For example, in the Venetian, these collectibles that we take away with us in our memories include reconstructions of St Mark's Place, both in the exterior and in the interior of the casino complex. It's a very mannerist thing, this dual reproduction of two spaces across one space across two temporal zones. St Mark's Place and Tower, or the palatial interiors of places like the Palazzo Ducale, and the artwork is just meticulous here. The lagoons of Venice, complete with gondolas and opera singers who, they actually go down, you can take rides down the lagoons and they sing opera as you lie there with your honey next to you. Or you can visit the Guggenheim, or until recently could visit the Guggenheim. Recently it was closed down. And I'm really interested that the Guggenheim, which was designed by Rem Koolhaas within the boundaries of the Venetian casino, didn't actually succeed. And I think I tie it to the fact that these boundaries that demarcate these spaces are starting to collapse more and more in Vegas, and people want that mix of those, the high and pop experience at the same time. Or the amazing structures that reproduce palaces like the Cadorna and the Palazzo Ducale, or the incredibly intricate detail that you get in the architectural detail on the exteriors, which are both interior and on the exterior, or the Tintoretto reproductions that you find in the numerous ceiling paintings that run across the entire casino and the arrival car park. To paraphrase Shakespeare, in Las Vegas, the world now literally is our stage. And that's it.